Gonna sew your pocket now. We're using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. 1/2 inch from the needle on the throat plate is here, marked right here, as long as the needle's in center position. You know the needle's in center position if the stitch width dial is at 0. Okay, so you want to check, make sure your stitch width dial is at 0. That's the middle dial on the machine. Come down here, take a piece of tape. You can use a flat magnet too if you have that. Line up your tape with the 1/2 inch line. Go all the way down so it's nice and straight. If you're not sure, you can take your ruler and measure from your tape mark. And you should line right up with the little line, 1/2 inch, where the needle is, and where that little plastic ridge is underneath the foot. So that gives you a 1/2 inch from where your seam is to the edge of the fabric. So we're going to start to sew now. I'm going to start where my marks are. I'm going to use my hand to lower the needle into the machine. I'm going to pull the flywheel, which is the top wheel on the side of the machine, towards me. And then I'm going to start sewing. 1, 2 stitches forward. I'm going to do a couple, 1, 2 stitches back. Back stitching, locking my stitches into place. When I get to this corner, I'm going to leave the needle in the fabric. I'm going to pick the foot up. I'm going to turn and pivot. You girls should both be comfortable with this already, but if not, it's good practice right now. And then I'm going to continue. I'm trying to line up the edge of the fabric with the edge of the tape as best as I can to maintain my 1/2 inch seam allowance. But I also gave myself the guidelines with the chalk, and I'm following that as well. So I'm going to lift the foot. You'll notice the needle is in the fabric, so I'm not missing any stitches. I don't want to create any gaps in my sewing. If I try to take a corner and the needle is not in the fabric, if I pick up the foot and the needle's not in there, then I'm no longer making a nice clean seam. Then I have to kind of guess where I was, start over, maybe a little back stitch, corner. It's recoverable, but you know, it's good to just pivot and have good habits. I'm almost done with the pillow, sorry, the pocket, which is basically a pillow. Back stitch forward, okay. I'm going to end by making sure that the needle is in the highest position, at the same time making sure the thread take-up lever, which is right here, for your memory, making sure that is also popped out of the machine at the highest position. That means the stitch cycle is complete. Okay, so here we go. Sorry about the noise. I'm going to put this aside for now and grab the other 2 things that we're going to sew, which are exactly the same 2 things. They are the 2 pieces of your outside of your bag. Okay, we're going to sew looking at it. Where I want your seam to be is as close to the folded edge as possible without going over it. I don't want it in the middle. We want to just close that and encapsulate this whole inch that we folded into itself when we did those notches. So I'm going to take the edge of the fabric where the fold is. I'm going to get as close as I can where I feel comfortable. Okay? So basically, the inside part of the foot is lined up with the edge of the fold there. I'm going to use my hand, put the needle into the fabric. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 stitches forward and a few stitches back. I did not change the thread. Normally I would use black or blue thread or something that didn't show up so much, but I wanted you to be able to see the seam as it happens and see the seam after. So I'm just gently guiding the fabric through I did do a back stitch at the beginning. I'm taking my pins out, putting them in my pin catcher. Going slow. I'm not using this, I'll get that out of the way. I'm just putting a nice seam at the top of each of these bag pieces. When I get to the end, I'm going to go slowly, back stitch and forward. I'm going to make sure the needle is in the highest position coming out. Make sure the thread take-up lever is in the highest position coming out. Pick it up, pick up the foot, cut the fabric away, take a pause.